Antigua State College. We did State College. We did Antigua and Barbuda Institute of Technology. Mr. Speaker, would they give me a chance to make my presentation?
The 2 turns.
Okay, gentlemen, I think that you have exceeded your discretion.
Mr. Speaker, we introduced the State College, we introduced the Abbott up at the Free Trade Zone, the Antigua Barbuda Institute of Technology, and we put that institution up there. And as I said earlier, it is we who introduced the education levy also. We introduced secondary education into this country. VC Bird introduced secondary education. Is that true, sir? Right. Who built the Princess Margaret School, which you're a beneficiary? Who did it, sir? All right, okay. So don't say who. The Antigua Grammar School.
Antigua Girls High. Who bought them?
Correct. But you were against the very education levy that those students are now benefiting from. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that the objectives in the National Youth Policy are generic in nature. They're not strategic. It's not that the member for St. John's City West was attacking or disrespectful to any of the participants. He was not. That is the twist that you want to put out there. But they're intelligent people and they can hear what he was saying. He was offering, they were not appalled, Mr. Prime Minister. He didn't disrespect them in any way. He was giving his other side of the contribution.
The antithesis.
Come on, we have to encourage diverse views in this house and constructive ideas. It is the cut and thrust. It is the cut and thrust of debate in this house. And how the whole evolution of the human being has come about. The evolution of the human being, Mr. Speaker, have come about by the synthesis from the other side, the antithesis from our side. Yes, the antithesis from this side, and then what is important is the synthesis of both sides, letting ideas contend in order to go forward, Mr. Speaker. And that is how we will grow intellectually, Mr. Speaker. I see you agreeing with me. So don't just turn and twist what the member for St. John's City West was saying. He was laying his views, let ideas contend. And we are also contending, Mr. Prime Minister, that this document, although it may be a great document, it should never have come to this house in final form. It should have come in a draft form. A draft, you're responsible for the governance of the country. How can you brag that you had no part to play in it? That you were not instrumental in the drafting? We are responsible for the governance. Let us have a win. Let us set up a select committee. No, that's not what it's there for. You've come with a final document, Mr. Prime Minister. It's a fait accompli. Mr. Prime Minister, we are responsible for the governance. They have the input, and I'm saying it should have come in a draft form. We debate it. We set up a select committee of the House. We look at both views, and then we send it back to the House for final determination. So it's not that the member for St. John's City West wanted to dismiss the hard work and the dedication of the people.
Not at all.
But you've got to realize that we on this side, we have some institutional knowledge and institutional experience being in government. And we're just offering. We're offering you that type of institutional knowledge and experience.
That's right.
Just to assist. So the argument by the Prime Minister, because it was bilateral, and by the member for St. John's, who was south, that we had representation by the ALP members of the youth group there. That, you have to realize, even in big multinational corporations, that thinking has evolved. It's no longer just enough to have a policy document. A policy document is static. You have brainstorming. In the whole idea of setting up little subgroups and constantly looking at the recommendations and changing. So it's not just good enough to say I have one policy youth document and that's it and it stays there. No. It's how do you go forward, Mr. Speaker? And we are saying that rightfully that this document should have had our input, and it's irresponsible for the other members not to have any input into the document. And Mr. Speaker, in closing, I want to say to the government, yes, we as a Labour Party government did not produce a final document, but we had all the workings in place. We had a draft, and as a Labour Party opposition, we had a youth National Youth Symposium, where we invited members of the opposition to come and to participate. We invited you all. Didn't we invite them?
Yes.
They didn't come. They didn't come. Youth is not partisan. Youth is not, yes, Mr. Prime Minister. Yes. And you know, you all say it's not political, but I want to crave your indulgence, Mr. Speaker, and look at the preface on page 4, the second paragraph. With your permission, I read it. In 2004, when the United Progressive Party took office, there was a surge of interest in national youth development. The new administration, keeping to its promise and agenda for change regarding its commitment to the development of youth, quickly set aside establishing the Department of Youth Affairs. This new agency, charged with the responsibility of national youth development, immediately set the formulation of a national youth policy. And then you're telling me, Mr. Speaker, that but you're saying it's not politics. Look at the preamble. Look at the preamble in your resolution. The first 2 paragraphs, Mr. Speaker, of the resolution is political, attacking the opposition. And if you read it, Mr. Speaker, with your permission, whereas over the past 15 years, much resources and energies have been dedicated to the formulation of a national youth policy without yielding any significant tangible results. Can you imagine that? Look at the wording. We're attacking us. Is that called for? We have a resolution here. You say you have a serious document to table before Parliament, and in the first paragraph, in the preamble to your resolution, is attacking the opposition without yielding any significant tangible results. And whereas true to its campaign promise, so it's campaign, it's politics, it's election, whereas true to its campaign promise of youth participation and development, the UPP government has mandated that the Department of Youth be restructured and charged. You didn't have to use that type of wording, Mr. Prime Minister. The language is totally uncalled for. Totally uncalled for. Mr. Speaker, winding up, this issue is very dear to my heart. The member for St. John City West touched on it, but I'm also going to touch on it in my conclusion, because many of the young people across this country, and in the St. Peter's constituency in particular, have been affected adversely by the UPP's arbitrary decision to stop the Land for Youth program, Mr. Speaker. The ALP government, Mr. Speaker, made 4,000 lots of 8,000 square feet available to youths of this country. I have many youths in my constituency who have paid the deposit of their $1,000 and their $1,500 to the Antigua and Barbuda Development Bank since 4.5 years now. And they have not been able to either get back their money, Mr. Prime Minister, their title to their land, or they have not been able to be told anything by the Ministry of Agriculture, Mr. Member for All Saints East and St. Luke. You cannot have those young people, money is sitting in the Antigua and Barbuda Development Bank in certain instances for 4 years and have not given them back. And all you've said to us, you've come to this house and say, oh, it is discriminatory, it is unconstitutional for us to give young people. That is the statement that the member for All Saints East and St. Luke, go and look in Hansard. He told this house that after 3 months of being in office. After 3 months in being in office, he said to this honorable house, he said that it's discriminatory and that they have legal advice that is unconstitutional. Unconstitutional to give young people an advantage, a leg up